Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast, where every mile is a lesson and every stop is an adventure.
I'm so excited because Jennifer's going to talk to us about road schooling today on Learn to RV, the podcast. I hope that's what you came for because that's what you're getting. And so today, in preparation for this exciting episode, I wore my, it's a bookstore from LA that I love, but at the top it says library. So I'm all prepared, Jen. I'm ready. Let's talk about road schooling.
Awesome. So we're going to talk this week about road schooling. And so if you've never heard of road schooling, that's what we do with our kids on the road full time. And so it's just kind of like leveling up your homeschooling. But today we're going to kind of dive into what that looks like, how it can work for families, and how it can even work for part-time road schooling, because you don't have to be a full-time RVer to road school your kids, believe it or not. Let's get started this week on the Learn to RV podcast with road schooling, brought to you today by RV Roofing Solutions. This week I'm here with my co-hosts.
I'm Jennifer.
And I am Tasha.
And so I have traveled with 7 of my kids, and at some point in our traveling of 13 years, but more than that, I have been a homeschool mom for about 25 years. And yes, that makes me older than both of these ladies. And so
who's counting?
Yeah.
Come
but
on.
I mean, I have a 30-year-old and she graduated as a homeschooler before, like right as we hit the road. So she moved out, said, love ya. See ya. Mean it. Out of here. And, but my other kids were 13 and then 11 and then 8 and then 6 and then 3 and then 1. And so we hit the road, full steam, homeschooling, and with a whole ton of books, my entire Life of Fred collection. And,
Life of Fred. I love Life of Fred.
Yeah. So we should talk about
one.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that as we go. So Life of Fred is this
Okay.
unique book system, and they're kindergarten through high school, and I have the whole series.
Yep. Do
And
you
so-
really?
I do. And so not here,
Yeah.
but I did. Anyways, we traveled with them for years, and Fred is a guy that's like 3 feet tall, but he
Yeah.
lives at a school, and he has a pet. What does he have? He has a pet something.
I don't know.
It's been a
I hate to
while.
say
It's
I
been a
don't
while.
remember, but
But they do everything right through algebra, and their science is woven through it. And so Life of Fred is just a neat way to do math on the road. And it's storybooks.
it's more than math. It's more than math. It's also reading and English. Like they do it all now, and he teaches it all through storytelling. So, my oldest loves those books. Like that's what she did for the longest time. That's how she learned everything, it just teaches it in that different way, that different mindset that kids can really, dive into it and get, pick it up. So,
Well, and it's based on what your kids and how they learn in that one. So
Yep.
like, I had kids that loved Life of Fred, but my dyslexic kids really struggled with it. And so, those types of different challenges are a part of that equation. So what led us to the road? I mean, we just were going to do this for a little while. So road schooling wasn't something I was planning to do long term. But let's talk about what road schooling means today. So for me, road schooling is a little bit different. I have mostly teenagers at home, 13, 15, and a graduated 18-year-old still traveling with us. And so the 18-year-old does work for us a little bit here and there, but it's very different. So, I mean, back then it was more hands-on education and more unschooly type stuff. And so there's another term. Jen, do you want to define unschooling?
Yeah, so because we definitely follow a little bit more of an unschooling method in our household, and it's basically just more of a child-led education. So, we kind of let the kids dictate what they want to learn, when they want to learn it, and how they want to learn it. We kind of follow the mythology that if they want to learn it, then they're going to learn it far better than if we're sticking their nose in a book and telling them to learn it. So that's kind of what we've done. And so like this last year, for example, our 15-year-old decided that she wanted a more structured school setup because she's got big plans to go to college and study astronomy and all of this good stuff. And so she, we worked with her and gave her several options, and she picked out, what's called Abeka.com. which is an online school, and you can do it both non-accredited or accredited. Right now, she's taking non-accredited courses, but she's working towards taking accredited courses. And, but that's what she wanted to do. And so she's doing really well at it. In fact, this is the first structured schooling she's had. And she went from like absolutely no structured schooling to structured schooling, and she's getting all A's and B's. So obviously, at least for her in her situation, our situation, it's working. I will say that everyone's situation is different. When you talk about road schooling, it can probably look 100 different ways depending on who you are and what your kids are like. So don't think that there's only one way to do it, because there's not.
Well, and unschooling, I mean, the definition of unschooling is child-led learning. So, I mean, still, you're still kind of unschooling your oldest, even though you're not saying you are, because she
Right.
chose that path. So that
That's
is
right.
child-led learning. And so
Yeah.
I think that unschooling looks different for every family. So I think the biggest misconception is unschooling means you don't do any schoolwork.
Right. That's not the
Mhm.
case.
And it
So
just
not
means you do
true.
it differently. And so I think that, getting past that stigma that and there are people out there that don't do any school that call themselves unschoolers. So, but it's no different than, just a bad reputation. And so, most homeschoolers that you meet that are on the road schooling are doing some type of either formal curriculum or not formal curriculum, but they're still doing the work. And so they're usually fairly well rounded. Tasha, yours is a little bit different. And I know, your kids are older too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got a kid. Is one of your kids doing college right now?
Ye- y- yes. Yes and no. Depends on what day it is. No, Rosewood graduated shortly after we moved into the RV, and wanted to take a gap year. And,
Okay.
high school was really hard. COVID hit in the middle of all that mess, and just, do they go back to school? Do they stay digital? What do they do? And so it was just a lot.
And
And
before you
they
go
just said,
further,
yes.
can you describe what a gap year means for those people
Yeah.
out
So
there
a
that
gap
aren't
year
listening?
is, yeah, it's literally just once you are finished with high school, taking a year to travel, to explore, to get a job, to do whatever it is that you want to do, before you launch into the next stage of your life, so that you get kind of a better idea. You get your feet underneath you, so that you're not jumping into something before you're ready. And so that was one of the things for Rosewood. They were like, I do think that I want to study art, but I'm not sure that that's what I want to do. I'm interested in going to this school in California, but I'm not 100%. And I don't want to spend that money if that's not the right path for me. And so we were launching out, and they were like, I want to take a year and I want to just travel with you guys and see what's out there and learn more about what I'm interested in, and kind of, you know, put my feelers out and see what is out there for me.
But you
Um,
also have a high schooler too, right?
I do. And so what we've got going now is Rosewood has taken some college courses through a college in Florida online while they're traveling with us. And they're doing that kind of semester by semester. They decide, am I taking them this semester? While David, he is an entering senior. So this will be his second, third. I lost track
So
of how
hard to
many
keep
years
track.
we're in. It will be at least his second year on the road of schooling. And what he does is, we use Khan Academy, we use a couple other programs, but he has a lot of control over what he studies. We sit down with him and say, what is it that you're interested in learning? What kind of courses do you think are going to set you up for what you want to do when you leave here? Um, and then because he is a sucker, he keeps saying, "And I'd like to do English class with mom." So he he gets me as his English teacher.
Why is that a
Um,
problem?
Well, because he gets classes like, and I think I may have mentioned this, in our mini episode, but, um, he gets classes like, "Hey, we're in St. Augustine, Florida, and there is a, national park structure over here, and the park rangers have made a rap song. I want you to watch the video and tell me how many times, because I wanna make sure you're paying attention, how many times did they shoot that cannon? How many times do they change?" But I don't ask him those kinds of questions until he gets to the very end of the thing. So it's more like, did you read all the instructions before you got there? Like, did you read the instructions before you did the assignment? So he had an
I think
assignment where
Tasha I think Tasha should make assignments like that for road schooling resources, like quarterly, where we put those up as challenges. And so if you
I
don't
would get
Yes.
know,
hate mail. Kids would be sending hate mail. He was like, "What did you do to me?" Because he had to go back and rewatch the video. He was just answering questions about the events that happened in St. Augustine and the history about it, and then, like, at the very end, it was like, "How many times did they shoot a cannon in this video?" And he was like, "What?" Then he had to go back and rewatch the whole thing.
but no, I mean, like, so there weren't a lot of road schoolers when we hit the road. And so, there are groups like Full Time Families and the Republic of Nomads, which are places you can find other families regularly. But, there is a free group, and so about 4 years ago now, I started Roadschooling Resources. So there's a page that we just launched that is not like
Mhm,
anything yet, but you can go like the page. But at the same time, in Roadschooling Resources, there is a community, and it's almost 4,000 people strong, and some of those people are dreamers. Some of those people are
Mhm.
wishing they could live this lifestyle, and so planning for that is part of this equation, but so is like any homeschoolers that are out there or people that are in public school. Maybe you travel only in the summer. You could totally join that group. Maybe you're a grandparent that travels with their grandchildren in the summer. Road Schooling Resources is a great resource there too. Ideally, we'd love for it to be a place where families can also connect in real life. It's not there yet, but who knows? And I want, that group to be free, but it is a private closed group. So you do have to answer all the questions to get in. And that's just to protect your privacy and your safety as you're traveling with your families. Um,
and the
that
other benefit to that, I just wanna call this out because I have had some questions of people going, "I don't understand, why is it closed?" The other benefit to that is that we are able to say, "There's no spam in here." There's no, "Hey, I tried this random sales gimmicky thing and it worked for me, try it for you." We're able to keep a handle on that. So you really are just getting what you're signing up for that way.
Well, and my
Yep.
kid's out school teacher, like, I do have some people that produce content in the community that do have offerings, like, there's an offering for piano classes, and my out school
Mhm.
teacher for my kids is in there, and my kids do D&D online, and it's a class, it's not just D&D. My husband and I don't agree on this at all. But like Judah's class is based in a dinosaur world. So he's constantly learning new stuff about that era. And then Aaron's is in a dragon world. So I'm not sure that one's real, but it's a good fantasy mythical creature sort of thing. So,
Well, but it's
it
storytelling and creative
100%.
writing and, you
Yep.
know?
And so those
Mhm.
out school classes become a part of our decision making process as far as, and this is the first time we've ever had structured anything, and they're not super structured, but it does mean Thursdays and Fridays I have to be home for those guys to do their classes, which is a new phase for us as a family. Jen's been road schooling for like what, 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been almost 8 years in October.
Okay. And so can you tell me a little bit about like the different phases? Like, did your kids attend school like in a traditional, see, mine were always homeschooled. So road schooling was almost
Mhm.
like a very natural um transition to the road. What about
Yep.
you?
Yep. So, our oldest, I mean, she went to preschool and she did 1 semester of kindergarten. And, that was about it because that's when we discovered, that about this lifestyle, and we were making the plans to leave and everything
Oh,
else.
so she was so
And
little.
yeah, she was very little. So she didn't get a ton, of school. She probably doesn't even remember it, I would say. I mean, she might, I don't know. But outside of that, it's all been homeschooling, unschooling, road schooling, whatever terminology you want to put on it. But, I will say with the unschooling method, I mean, it hasn't changed a lot over the years for us, because again, it's that child led, we do try to make sure they know how to read, write, arithmetic, things like that. But mostly it's just about where are we? What can we learn? What can we do? National parks, state parks, their junior ranger programs are great, can be very repetitive, but there's also a lot of really good information in there that, the kids have learned so much. They could tell you just about everything about every wild animal that lives in the United States. Janessa can go out and tell you just about everything about the night sky, that was kind of one really cool thing with her, because I mentioned earlier she wants to go into astronomy. Well, the winter that we went to Death Valley to host they actually had the International Dark Sky Festival there that year.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
cool.
And so she got to go to that and listen to all the astronauts talk and astronomers talk and share things. And so that really elevated her education that year too. So just being able to take in experiences like that and just, you got to look at the world and go, okay, what can we learn from the world? What can we go do? I mean, even learning on a hike, you go on a hike, my kid's favorite thing is, "Mom, let's do picture this, do picture this." We'll take a picture of a plant and then, have it tell us, what is
Yeah.
this plant? Is this a berry edible? What's this flower? Or what's that insect? And what is its purpose? And they retain it so much better that way
There's
too.
a
So
couple we used to go bird watching with, and, every time we were in California, we'd reach out to them. And there was one year we went, and my kids found ants on the ground, and they stopped and studied them for like 20 minutes. And Almeda looked at them and she goes, "They're so different. My grandkids don't do stuff like this." They would have been looking for the birds, didn't find the birds, and they'd have been like, "Okay, let's go home." And my kids were like out there for like 3 hours, studying all of the things. And so, yeah, I think
yeah,
that that's a big difference in terms of, and I think it's just the perspective of how we teach it, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's deep diving into those things, taking those rabbit trails down, and learning more and more and more. My oldest two boys love Reddit. I am not a huge Redditor. I don't know if that's what you call them. But learn to RVs on Reddit. But I mean, I'm not hugely on Reddit, but my boys constantly are deep diving into, things, and they always were homeschooled. So it's not like they, are not functioning as adults. They're out there living life. I mean, we're fortunate. We are able to employ most of our kids and our,
yeah,
our daughter-in-law. But my daughter is a groomer up in Asheville, and she chased her dreams. And so she doesn't want to work for RV Roofing Solutions, and that's okay. And, she's chasing her dreams. And so she loves working with animals, and that's just her jam. So, it's just a different dynamic. So, people are always like, kids won't grow up and be what they want to be. They will,
yep,
just hang tight. Tasha, weren't your kids in public school before you hit the road?
They were, and they had been from preschool, um, all the way through, and then, high school was a different kind of beast, and I've already mentioned it, but they were in public school. When COVID hit, our district went to digital learning, and David is very, very shy. Um, he is gonna kill me for talking about this. He is introverted is the word I'm going to use. He's very introverted. He's very selective with the people that he likes to spend his time with. And so for him, once they went to digital learning, it was like, yeah, I don't really want to go back to campus. And the school district that they were in did allow for a digital home learning program once kids did return. My kids had decided to go ahead and try and go back to campus, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we want to go, we want to go back home." So they stayed in digital, and that's how Rosewood finished out high school. And when we first moved into the RV, that was they finished their senior year doing that, and then David moved from that to his online learning programs that
Right.
he does now. So,
eh,
it was an interesting, transition, but it was also one where it was kind of organic for them because the situations of what was happening around us, in society had already kind of, like, paved the way for us to make that change, um, without a huge drastic change to their lifestyles.
Well, and I
So,
think COVID did change the equation for a lot of families. In fact, we saw
yeah.
a huge surge of families come on the road during COVID. You know, we'd been on the road at that point for 7 years, and what we chose to do during COVID was go to states that weren't crazy. And so, you know, there were states that were better than others, you know? So that was actually the year we were supposed to go to Maine. Would you believe we have never been to anything more north of New York? So
Listen,
We're the
next
same way. We
year
were gonna go to Maine that year too.
yeah,
That
and
was
so
in our route. We
next
had it
year
all
we're doing
mapped
this.
out.
yeah, well, so that could be next summer because
I'm
Escapees
determined.
Maybe
has
all of us
Yes.
travel
well,
together next summer.
so
Follow the Learn to RV team.
June we'll be at the Escapade, which is up in Maine. So Maine is on our list just for rally purposes. So I don't know how long I'll get to stay. It depends on how many teams I've got and where we're going. But in June we will be in Maine, and it's really too early to be in. I think it's too early to be in Maine in
That's
June.
I don't
But
think so. I think
it might be a little
anytime's a good
cold, but
time. That's how I
I
feel about it.
mean,
I'm ready to go. I would go today. Let's go now. But that's from someone who is supposed to be there right now.
yes.
right?
But yeah,
You know?
so I mean, 13 years on the road though, and I think plans change. And so I think
Yeah.
also budgeting is part of this. And so, you know, I want to take a moment and, you know, I know we have the other episode that talks about different things, but I want to make sure we touch on some things like budget, you know, so not everybody can afford to go coast to coast every year and
And
see
really fast,
everything.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt
No, you're
really
good.
fast because I know that we've now mentioned it twice, but when we're talking about this other mini episode, I just want to let you guys know you can find that on our Patreon and you can look us up, Learn to RV, the podcast. There's how long is it, Jen? It's 27
It's
minutes.
about 27 minutes. Yep.
We've got a 27-minute mini-sode about homeschool
Mini-sode.
or road schooling.
Available to our
Mini-sode.
subscribers.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yes,
that's
you
the
got to be on a
episode that we keep
subscription.
referring to. I just wanted to clear that up because people
Yep.
are probably going, "There's nothing here." It's because it's not here. It's on Patreon. Sorry, go
Well,
ahead, Jennifer.
and so that's it. You know, I always am looking for great free things to do on the road with my family because our first
Mhm.
year on the road, we were super budget conscious because we were living off just
Mhm.
Frank's retirement. And so that was $2,000 a month, if I'm being completely honest with you. And so $2,000 a month times 8 people on the road meant that we did a lot of free stuff. And so
Yeah.
we would do that by Googling free stuff to do near me. And, you know, you can find the world's biggest ball of yarn that way. You can also go to Atlas Obscura. Neither one
Mhm.
of you guys use Atlas Obscura?
Yep.
No,
We have
you
made use
don't?
of that many a times. Jen,
Yeah,
you gotta get in there. It's so
there's so
fun.
much fun on it.
It's crazy. There's some crazy stuff out there.
I know. we
You're like, we
we
found
found
it all on our own. We don't need a website to tell us where it is.
uh, I hear about it. I hear people point things out online or whatever. I mean, it's always, always so interesting wherever we are. Facebook knows. Facebook knows where we are. And then all of a sudden I start seeing all the ads and all of the chatter and the talk about that location. And it's like, oh, look, oh, we can go do this here. And oh, we can go do that here. I mean, it just falls in front of my face. So
Gotcha. Well, so
Listen,
I mean, like Atlas Obscura, for those of you that don't know, is this website that you can go to find strange and unusual things to do near you. And so that can range from, I don't know, like here in Goshen, it could be the Amish farms around me. They may not be so strange and unusual. They can be common things, but they're just
mhm.
things in the local area. Or you can find, there's a place, oh, I don't remember where it was.
like the
There's
place you went through, South Dakota, the Corn Palace.
Oh, yes, the Corn Palace. So that
Mm.
is a great story. So my friend Stephanie, for 12 years, has told me, you have to go to the Corn Palace. And I was like, okay. So we drove by the Corn Palace. You know, it's right off the highway. It's not even far. Like, I don't know how many times in the
They
last
made
12
it
years.
easy. You
They
gotta get to your
did.
corn.
Well, that's really all all that there is there to do.
It's out in the middle of Nowheresville, South Dakota.
It is.
That's
And
all there is there.
so, but the entire place changes every year. And it's made of corn. And we'll have to drop a picture of the Corn Palace in the show notes. We just will. And it's,
Yeah.
because we're going to have coordinating blogs for a lot of these. And so the Corn Palace is this building that they do artwork inside and outside of the building made out of stapled pieces of colored corn. And it's naturally colored. And so it changes every year. And it's like thousands of dollars to do this every year. It's insane. But
so
it's
cool.
super cool. And so, it was so funny because my daughter reaches out to her girlfriend and says, I'm doing this, this, and this. And Caroline goes, "You're at the Corn Palace. I love that place." And so, that is a quirky, fun roadside attraction that you'll find on Atlas Obscura. And you'll have all this wild knowledge about corn when you leave, like how corn sweats.
Yep.
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 I don't know if we'll ever really need to know that.
Hot.
So,
there are two things that I found through there. One of them I did when I was on a solo trip to Canada, and it was this garden that a city had made that made it look like a Hobbit, like hills, like all of the gardens looked like little Hobbit homes. But by the time I got there, they had completely reconstructed it, and so all of the little mounds looked like peacocks. They were beautiful because it literally looked like the flowers were the feathers of the peacocks coming off of it. Was amazing.
Very cool.
The other thing is one of like my top 5 weird things in America that I want to see, because I am obsessed with this movie. But A Christmas Story is my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
Not you.
Always has been. Yes.
So is Frank. Frank used to have the bunny suit.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
no.
I
Do you have
knew
pictures?
he was my people.
Can we put a picture in the show notes or the blog?
See, I'm telling you, Frank is my people. So there is a town that has a giant leg lamp statue in town, and they have like a whole festival around this movie, and I want to go so bad. I just want to go so bad. But yeah, those are my 2 like big amazing finds that I'm just like,
you're gonna have to actually show yourself in the 3-way on this one because you're just dying over there laughing because these are things that I can see that you probably would not be looking for.
No.
Jen's like, and this is why I don't go to that website. I would be in line for the big giant ball of twine. I'd be like, somebody took a really long time to put that together. Where is all the floss? There it is.
RV Roofing Solutions is a nationwide RV roofing company with mobile installers.
One of the biggest factors and benefits of the RV Roofing Solutions system is our product is a low VOC, which is helpful for those who are sensitive to chemicals. It's better for the environment, and it actually works better for the RV roofing industry.
It's a great place to find a quality product.
www.rvroofingsolutions.com.
Let's talk about littles on the road because let's rein it back in. So I know Tasha, you didn't start with littles on the road, but I had a 1 and a 3-year-old when we hit the road, and Jenn had
which
a
is amazing.
1-year-old.
My youngest was 1. Yep.
Yep. And so what does that was obviously for us a couple days ago is like I like to say, but there's lots of families that navigate with littles on the road. So what are some tips that you'd give some families with little people how to take more bite-sized steps as you drive?
Gosh, bite-sized steps. I guess I kind of go the opposite direction. Like, don't be afraid to let your littles get out there and explore the world. We were out doing 10-mile trails our first year on the road with our littles.
You made them walk that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
My kids would have laid down. They would have been like, you're dragging me the rest of the way.
No, I can't say that they actually walked the entire time. And let me tell you this story about one of those trails. So we were in Oregon our first summer, Washington, our first summer on the road, and we were staying up in Dungeness Spit, near Olympic, but we were on the coast, and this park that we were staying at had a lighthouse, because lighthouses are big out there, and I love to go see the lighthouses. And we were like, oh, we're notorious for maybe not reading the maps before we go. I don't know what it is, but we
And then
start
go in
these
with your
trails.
1-year-old.
We start these trails and they're always longer than we thought they were. Now, I will say we have proven that places are notorious for misrepresenting how long trails are. In
True.
fact, there was a park we worked at once, and I asked, okay, this trail is longer than what you guys advertise. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it is. And I've proven it. And I says, how do you guys map your trails? And they're like, oh, well, we just put in, GPS points in Google.
Oh, so it's as the crow flies.
Exactly.
That is not
So how
okay.
many parks do that?
We just experienced that at Devil's Tower.
So back to the story. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go hike this trail. So and it's on the beach. So you're hiking in sand. Okay, Phil's got the the 1-year-old was being carried. She was in a backpack carrier at this time, but everyone else was walking. And we're going, and we're 2-3 miles out, and we're like, okay, we're not there yet, and we can see it. Oh, it doesn't look that far. It's a lot farther than you think. When all is said and done, I think it was 5.5 miles to get to the lighthouse. And then we didn't think about the tide. So yeah. So, we're just enjoying the lighthouse because they let the kids go all the way to the top on this one, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. We're taking it all in. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, the tide is starting to come in, and we had 5 miles to get back. And, this is our first year. So I wasn't even acclimated to hiking that far yet. And I'm in the sand and I'm like, oh my gosh, the last 2 miles I was doing good just to get myself back. My poor husband, he's carrying 2 kids at a time, sometimes 3, and we're just like, the beach is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, we make it back, thankfully, because obviously we're here today, but it was a good memory. The kids remember it, the ones that
Obviously,
were
we're
old
here
enough to
today.
remember. Whew. But we built up their hiking stamina too, so we can go out today
all in
and
one
hike
day.
a 10-mile trail,
That is so funny.
and they don't think much about it unless they choose to be a teenager and whine just for teenager's sake. Then that's a different story. But
Well, it's their earned right as teenagers.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Well, let's talk about like extracurriculars, because you do a lot of hiking. And so how
Yes.
does that come in? Do you do any other, I think people underestimate what road schoolers do with their kids. And so PE is something we do on a regular. It's just not like running,
Right.
unless, you're doing the Olympics
looks
at
different.
Bash. Yeah, it just looks
Yeah.
different. So,
I mean, my
you
kids
do a
don't know
ton of
how to play
hiking.
baseball. Yeah, my kids don't know how to play baseball or basketball or football, and they couldn't tell you the terms of it, but they know how to read a map. They know how to read a compass. They know how to hike. They know how to find their way. When we were in Death Valley hiking trails, the way a lot of trails work there, you have to use a compass to find the start of the trail because it's not marked, and so we got to go through all of this with them, we also do kayaking, our
Us
kids,
too.
we have blow up kayaks. So our kids know how to blow up the kayaks, move them, carry them. They know how to patch holes in a kayak. Yeah. Well, we do have a power blow up thing because to do 3 that way, my gosh, we'd be lightheaded afterwards.
Yeah, we
a
have
lot of
3.
hot air.
No, ours is electric too. But yeah, we kayak everywhere. And we do a lot of swimming. A lot of the campgrounds we go to have pools. I think
Yeah.
it's easier to do with them when they're little sometimes than it is when they're big.
Yes.
But what else do we do? Gosh, we do a lot of hiking too. We have a buddy.
Rollerblading is new for us this year. This last winter, we took the girls to the roller rink for the first time ever, and they fell in love with it. So
My
much
daughter
so that
loves
they
to go to
all
the
got
rink.
rollerblades. Yeah, so they all
So-
got rollerblades now, and
Like straight rollerblades, like 1994 for
Yes.
rollerblades, not roller
Yes.
skates.
No,
That's
Not
Gus has
so
roller
skates.
cool.
No, yeah, your roller blades is what they
Yes, like
wanted, not roller
all my wheels
skates.
are in a row.
Yes, yes, all my
That's
wheels that
so
are in a
cool.
row. And not only did they get rollerblades, but mama and dada got rollerblades too. So
Hey.
Well,
that's
and
our
we
new
we have
family thing.
skateboards too, so I mean, like, there's that. I haven't broken into the e-bike thing because, well, one, bikes are hard to carry, so we actually
Mhm.
just rescued one of our bikes out of our old camper before it moved to Texas, and then we realized the other two
It's
bikes.
easy for you. You have a toy hauler, Jennifer.
Well,
Bikes
now,
just go in the back of your RV. I mean,
yeah, but that's a bedroom. It's not really a toy hauler, so it's a little bit more challenging. And we're the roof people, so there are tools back there on travel days. So
true.
there's that. But yeah, so bikes were something we carried for years and hadn't carried in all the last year. So the kids are really excited. There were 3 bikes left in the Cardinal last year. But do you know what happened over the last year? My 2 kids that were the youngest grew. So they do not fit
did.
on the bikes that are in the in the other camper. So we only have one bike that we can all share now. So, and I don't really have it up in me to get another one. So there's that problem. So,
Ugh.
what about you,
You were
Tasha? What
talking
do you
about
guys do? Do you do like urban hiking, like where you go to the mall?
we do urban hiking, like, let's go take a ghost tour of Boston. We're like, "Take us through all the cemeteries, please." We do that a lot. Like, that sounds so goofy, but we do. We're like, "We're in a new town. Let's see if there's any ghost tours that they can take us on." And those suckers will work those glutes, okay? You are going uphill, you are going through
Stairs.
rocky terrain, you're going wherever they wanna take you. Um, and so it's a workout. And sometimes my kids are like, "How many did you book for this trip?"
Well, and
Because
see, the first time we hiked down in New Orleans, we went with a friend who was an artist down there. And so he
oh,
actually used to own a studio. And so
I
Becky
love
and
New
Chris were on the
Orleans.
road for like 14 years before they settled into a house in I want to say Connecticut. And so
Mhm.
anyway, long story short, Chris took us on a progressive dinner tour. So it was just like 4
Ooh.
couples. And so like we went to this one place that was like up in a back building, but Chris also walks fast. So it wasn't just a progressive dinner, it was a progressive dinner and burn all the calories between the places. So it was like it was like a sprint between the 2 places to keep up with
Right.
Chris. And then we would go get like the main course and then we had dessert somewhere else. And so, there's different ways to incorporate exercise into
There
traveling.
really
And
is.
so
I mean, I know it sounds goofy to be like, I take my kids on haunted city tours, but it's not just, let me tell you about the ghosts that haunt this hotel that we're standing in front of. You get so much history in
Yeah.
those tours. They tell you so much about like how the cities were built and, what battles went down. And we've done tours of some really amazing places, battlegrounds and old houses and old towns. And we've done several of New Orleans. We've done I just California, Boston, I mean, name a place we've done a tour there. We've been in Florida, we've done them there. There's so much you can learn. I also really like to take my kids up a lighthouse. They don't like me when I do, but by golly, that's, you know, the
I was
view's
just
great
thinking
and you
that
get some exercise there.
one of my best workouts was the Astoria Column. How many of you guys have done the Astoria Column? Anybody? Just me?
Not been
Mm-mm.
So it's
there.
in
No.
Oregon. And so it's straight up and
Ugh,
it's a
I wanna go to
spiral
Oregon.
staircase. And the problem with
Uh-huh.
it is there's people behind you and
Got to keep
it's
going.
yeah, and
Yep.
so it's doom, 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 all the way up. And so, by the time you get to the hot top, you're just like, oh my gosh. And so, you stay up there for 20 minutes just to look around and catch your breath. But
Right.
it's fine, and so we've always hiked with the kids and it's just
Mhm.
part of our lifestyle out here and we love exploring new places. But how many of you guys have a I know Tasha, you weren't on the road with a 4th grader, but Jen, have you been on the
Yeah.
road with a 4th grader?
Yes, we have made use of that program for many years.
So what is that program? We've
So
done it
that
too.
program is great. It is called Every Fourth Grader in a Park or some variant of that. And essentially, if you have a fourth grader, you can go to a national, you can get your little coupon online and then take it to a national park
And you
and
have
get a
to
free
print
national
it,
park
right?
pass. You
But
do
you
have
have
to
to
print it, yes.
Yep.
Because you got to actually hand it to them because that's how they get their credit or whatnot. So we've made quite a use out of it, and I'm sad because we only have like 1 year left to use it, and then we're going to be done. And we're going to have to start buying our passes again.
Well, Frank
But
actually has a free pass because he's a military veteran. And so,
yeah,
but I always had to go into a park with Frank for that. And so
yes, you
that's
have to
why
go with your fourth grader. Yeah, if
right.
your fourth grader's
But
not with
but
you,
if
yep,
if Frank couldn't go because he was away on work, because one of my kids was a fourth grader at the time, we had a couple years, like the year we did Yellowstone, I had a fourth
yep,
grader. So it worked out really well in that situation because we could go into the park whatever day we wanted with or without Frank. So I
yeah.
mean, I
I
think that that's cool.
love the National Park Pass. Like I highly recommend if you're going to hit any national parks, if you're
Just get the
hitting
pass.
one, just get the pass. Cuz
Agreed.
we went to where did we go? We went to the Grand Canyon first. And we got there and it was literally I can speak. We could pay for each of us individually or we could pay like $1 more and have the year-long pass that got us in everywhere.
Yep.
Yes.
And that was ridiculous. And so we got the pass and we went to the Grand Canyon. And then I think like 3 weeks later, we were tromping through Joshua Tree, Jennifer, with your crew. And so, um, you know, and it's not just the parks, it's the historic monuments, it's all of that. And so I've been to the Wright Brothers Museum because that's in that thing. So I went and I like walked along where the stinking first plane went. Like I never thought I would see that ever. I didn't even know where that was. Now I've walked it. So there's so much that you can do with your kids with a national park pass. I don't think that people think about the fact that you're not just restricted to I've got to make it to Yellowstone. I've got to make it to the Grand Canyon. There are so many
Right.
places throughout the
Agreed.
country that you can take your kids to.
Well, and you can deep dive longer because you have the pass. You know, you're not
Mhm.
restricted to
Yeah.
that one day that you're going in. So I
Well, and
want
can
to
I
go.
also talk about
Yeah.
real quick too on the national parks? I also want to talk about like the programs that they have. You
Yes.
know,
They're
we've
amazing.
gone, learn about paper making, learn about basket weaving, and then they actually have hands-on activities about basket weaving. A month ago we went down to Jewel Cave National Park and they had a special Junior Cavers Day where they had all these booths set up and they got to earn a patch that you can't earn any other day of the year.
That's so
But they
cool.
got to learn all about bats and different things and all these hands-on activities. And so if you are near a national park, look at their schedule because
Yes.
there are
Mhm.
so many educational opportunities, that are outside the junior ranger program or the hikes or anything else too.
Well, and the ranger programs are fun. So we were in Yellowstone in 2022, and we went to this junior ranger or this ranger talk just at one of the locations, and we get out there and we're talking, and the one guy at the very end, there was a guy in the audience that goes, "Where can I find the alligators here in the park?" And I almost answered for the ranger because I was like, "You do know where you are, don't you?" Because, there are no alligators in
You're not in Florida.
Yellowstone, and so the guy was disappointed because he couldn't find alligators, but the amount of questions
This
that
is
they
not
get
a
asked,
zoo.
oh, no joke, people ask me all the time, "Where do they let the bison out in Yellowstone?" Daily.
Oh,
No.
And
I know.
so, like, people just don't know what they don't know, and so, and I think our kids are so much better educated than that, especially as travelers. They know kind of some common things not to do,
Yep.
Mhm.
and they're more mindful of their environment, I think, and the
Yeah.
wildlife, and more protective of
Yes.
it because they do take the junior ranger pledges at places, and so they know that they shouldn't take things home. They know that they shouldn't,
Yep.
and so they're
You
setting a
shouldn't
great
feed the wildlife
or pet it. There are no
For
fluffy cows that
real.
are
like
safe.
the burros at Custer State Park that everyone feeds their Cheetos to.
They are
Ugh,
not.
drives my kids nuts. Yes.
So
Well, everyone
I
does.
I'd love to, one of the things that I hear that's a common misconception is kids miss out on social life if they're traveling. And so I'd like to speak into that just a little bit. And I'll start by saying, this past year, we kind of evaluated what we were doing for the business in May, and we did not do any rallies for RV Roofing Solutions because we went to prom. And we didn't just go to
Mhm.
prom. We did a whole month with a bunch of families that we knew and some we didn't know, but it was like 20 families. And we spent the month with those families and really took some time with those relationships. And, I don't think that that's something that people think about, but, road schoolers are looking for opportunities to connect their children.
Mhm.
And so,
Yep.
what are some ways that, Tasha, you have connected with your kids on the road to find other people?
We stalked your family. We we put a tracker on your RV. No, we
Well, finding someone in the community that can introduce you to other families that have kids your
that is
age is
really
exactly.
important.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing is like we went to the Grand Design rallies, and while we were at the Grand Design National rallies, they have kids camp, and so we encouraged the kids to go to kids camp. My
Yeah.
kids were older. They were some of the older kids, but they did meet some of the kids there. Rosewood met more than what David did because David didn't go to as many things. But, one of the things that I think is kind of special about my kids, I say that like they're fancy, but um, they've always tended to um, relate with and talk to adults in a room more than kids their own age. They like go that direction. They'll talk to adults more. So
Well,
even when we were there, David was making friends with people that were a little bit older than him that, he was walking around talking to them, asking them questions about whatever they were doing. If they were making food or, he loves to cook. He's really interested in culinary arts. And so, if he'd see somebody doing something that way, he gets involved and starts asking questions that way. We've done some different activities where we go out um and just going to places where we know we're going to run into kids. Um which sounds ridiculous and sounds like, yeah, duh, you're going to run into kids everywhere. But, you know, going to museum programs or going to things at the aquarium or, um, I mean, I can't stress enough, like when you see your kids making a connection on the road, being intentional about helping them feed into that relationship. Like we talk a lot about how Rosewood and Theo really hit it off sitting in that little room with a puzzle and not talking at all. But that to me was so precious to watch and to see them be friends today, 2 years later. Anytime that we get a chance where we're near you guys, I will
even if it's
beeline
just a
it
couple
to
days,
yeah,
and it's so important. So I always tell people that it's not always the first time that you meet someone that your kids connect. And for kids like mine that have been doing this for 13 years, a
Mhm.
lot of times they're more reluctant now because they've seen the ebb and flow of this lifestyle. And so they see people come and go. And so being intentional and making sure that you meet up with those people you do have
Yeah.
things in common with on a regular basis. If you can do that once every 3 months, great. If you can do it once every 6 months, great. If you have to do it once a year, plan for that once a year and make sure that's a commitment that you make. There are proms on the road. I would love to have a chapter under FRVA for families and just learn to RV, honestly, so that we could do workshops and stuff like that at different events. We're not there yet. I just don't have enough
We'll get
day.
there.
Yeah, we just don't have enough time in the day to make that happen just with the three of us. But
Yeah.
it's one of
Well,
those things. But
and
Jenn
there's
has a different dynamic too. Jenn has, she does a lot of work camping. So I think that
Mhm.
your community looks different with your kids than maybe somebody else's does. And I know that we're camping, we've spoken about how that's a different dynamic for our children, and that sometimes the visitors don't understand that our kids, and there's just a whole dynamic there. But how do your
Mhm.
kids create community, Jen?
It's a hard one for us. But they do dive in, they socialize with the other work campers just like us. I know you had mentioned too, Tasha, about how your kids can relate to older people a little bit better and stuff, kind of the same way with my kids, I'll be honest. They've got lots of honorary grandparents. We were just hiking a trail with a friend of ours the other day, and we're sitting there hiking, and my youngest was in the back of the group, with our friend, and she was just, chattering, off a storm to her, just one story to the next, to the next, to the next, and of course, she had no problem with it. She was loving the conversation too. They make friends wherever they go. They're a little shy, I'll be honest, so they won't necessarily be the first one to reach out to a kid, but they can go to a playground. If there's a kid playing there, they'll play with them, things like that. If there's 12 kids on the playground and they're like, "Mom, there's too many kids on the playground. I can't go." So we get a little bit of that. Last year we got to travel with a family for the first time, in our full-time career. And, it was another family with 6 kids. And, it was great. It was a couple months. The kids ate it up, connecting and playing and just, they were living their best lives
But you
last
knew
year.
them,
So
right? Like,
Mhm.
you knew the other
we
family.
met them.
So I
We
think
had
that,
met them.
one of the things that I see on Facebook so often is people say, "Oh, I wanna travel with another family." I would urge you to get to know those families first, because it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
hard on the kids to break it up when things don't go
Yep.
the right way. We've had friends that, we've traveled with for whole seasons, for whole years, where we've ebbed and flowed out of our travel plans. We just align them in ways that we could spend a week together and 2 weeks apart, and then come back for 2 weeks, and then, we would do things together just like that. But I think it takes a special kind of friendship to handle that, because you have to know when to go home. You have to know
Yep.
when family time. You have to know when, laundry day is, and respect
You
each
have to
other's
be
space.
honest with each other. If you can't be
100%.
bluntly honest with each other, then it's probably not a good
Right.
family to
So
spend,
doing it with a
to
bunch of
travel with.
strangers is not
Right.
something I typically recommend to anybody. I say get to
Yeah.
know the family first. And so I know that
Mhm.
the 3 of us do have some plans together in Florida this winter, but I've known both of you for long enough, and I think you and Tasha are just excited enough to meet each other that it's gonna be a good fit. So, I mean,
Yes.
it's one of those things where, are we sharing those travel plans with the people out here? Probably not. I'm not real open about that. But, it's one of those things that, it takes time to develop those.
Mhm.
So if you happen to meet up with us at one of those locations, we won't not be friendly, because that's not who any one of us are. And so
Right.
there's always that chance that there's a whole new community there waiting for you. So, I mean, I'm a connector by nature. So if you don't know how to get connected and you're going to be in Florida this winter, I mean, we'll be all over Florida this winter. So I'm happy to point you in the right direction. I do want to take a quick moment and just talk about that road schooling isn't just an education style, it's kind of a lifestyle.
Yep.
And so, whether you're doing a little bit or a lot, but if there's something in this episode that sparked your curiosity, I'd love for you to go to our page on the podcast and put your comments, ask your questions, um, any of those things, because road schooling is it's not something you know how to do. It's something you learn with your kids. I
Yep.
Mhm.
remember back years ago when I first started breastfeeding, I had a La Leche League woman tell me that babies don't know how to nurse, and I feel like that's true of road schooling. And so it's a learning process, and you constantly are learning. And what works this year may not work next year. So, and if you're struggling right now and you're not finding connection, community, resources, I mean, there's things in your local community that are great resources. The library is one of them. And so maybe you're just a road schooler that is, your kids are homeschooled, but you're stationary. There's stuff for you too. And I mean, we can't cover all of that in one episode. There's just no way to do that. So tag your post with my RV life moment, and maybe it's your story that gets featured either, on our regular channels or in our Patreon for the next road schooling episode. Maybe it's one of you we interview, or 2 or 3 of you we interview about your road school style, because yours is probably different than ours, because everyone's is different in some way or another. Um, don't forget, like, follow, subscribe. join us on Patreon. Buy us a coffee over at Buy Us a Coffee. I don't know how that works yet, but we'll get there. And then we've got, all sorts of stuff going on.
Be sure to join this crazy campfire crew at the Learn to RV podcast again next week. Like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.